not that he wasn't playing individually well. He was pumping out a ridiculous amount of damage and heals. It was that he was dying at really inopportune times. He was taking aggressive peeks, losing duels to the enemy Zenyatta, getting hacked. You know, these were big problems where even though most of the time he was performing great, he died at crucial junctures in that match, and that can't happen anymore.
He's going to start out with a Moira this time for San Francisco Shock, so playing a hero with a bit more escapability than Zenyatta has. We'll see if that helps him out. Hangzhou Spark, though, getting the first... Oh, yeah. Are they going to? Yeah. Looks like they're going to go back and make some swaps. There's Viol2t over on the Zenyatta. Smurf changing to the Reinhardt. Sinatra on the Zarya. That's going to give Shock potential control over the point first.
So what the Shock thought the Spark were doing was they thought they were playing Pharah. That's why they ran with that composition, just to hold the point.
All right, Shock going to try to stop Spark from taking it, but they can't. It looks like Spark is going to get their control percent rolling early. And now the question is, can they win the ensuing defensive battle here? Oh, Guxue low. Sinatra finishes him off. Smurf on the opposing Reinhardt got low too, but he stayed alive. And that's going to give Shock a chance to come back and win this fight. It looks like they will. So Shock making the educated changes, winning the fight, not giving too much percentage over to Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah, that went about as well as it could for the Shock. They want to play the 3 tank, 3 support composition right now on this point. They anticipated that Spark would be doing something with a few more damage-dealing heroes, and their idea was, hey, let's just hold the point with our Moira, because she has so much close-range healing. Didn't actually matter. They give up that percent, but they win the fight anyway.
Now can they hold it? The good news for them is that they've got a lot of ultimates coming up. Hangzhou, though, is going to have quite a few themselves here. Sinatra waiting for a chance. Might just grab the edge of this ledge. We'll see what he decides to go for. Don't want to be too hasty with that. Don't want to get that grab eaten by Rhea on the Diva.
He's looking for that opportunity here. Avoid the defense matrix.
Yeah, rallies on both sides are going in. Defense matrix is all over the place. Got to wait for that cooldown to go down. No, Smurf taken out, though, by Bezzy. And that's a good start for Spark. Now, can they win this efficiently? And how much will Shock commit? Looks like they're just going to back off and give it over to them.
Oh, they're going.
Oh, maybe not. They're going back in. They're going at the grab. Whoa, the counter shatter comes out from Guxue. Trying to knock a few low. Didn't quite work out. Shock has that sound barrier to try to keep people up. And Guxue does get pooped off the edge by Moth, actually. Now it's going to be Smurf coming in with another shatter, turning things around for Spark yet again. And, man, Shock able to reclaim the point despite it really looking like it was going to go the other way for a while.
Shock took a bold move right there in using the Graviton Surge and committing so many ultimates to that engagement, but they knew Smurf was on his way back. And when they traded 1-for-1, ended up with Shock with a fresh Reinhardt in the fight and able to deal the damage.
I mean, the timing for that is so tight, right?
Yes.
You have to go in right as that Reinhardt's getting back, and you don't have a lot of time to do that. Engaging with the self-destruct, our Spark. The follow-up comes in, team trying to attack here too, but they don't really have a lot of ultimates to prop this attack up, though. I don't know about this one from Spark. They're going to lose Guxue right off the bat. They got to stop Shock somehow. San Francisco still holding strong on the point. That's a nice knockoff onto Rhea from Moth. Getting him out of the commission right away. Viol2t down on the Shock side, though. We are into overtime. It's expiring. Can Spark get back in and stop it? Looks like they'll just barely be able to do it. Bezzy just trying to keep things alive as they re-engage here. There's another grab. That one got eaten, though, by Choyobin. Shock's still in good shape, especially with that sound barrier now. And Spark grasping at straws here. Guxue goes for another shatter, but gets shattered himself. Doesn't end up working out. Gets stunned himself, rather. That said, Spark somehow find enough people on the point to flip it. It's so back and forth. But Spark may have just found a way. I don't know, man. That's another shatter coming in. One of the longest fights I've seen in a while. But somehow Shock managed to turn it back around in their favor. They're going to retake the point. And I don't know if Hangzhou can get anybody there in time to stop this.
Get a Reinhardt there, that's for sure.
They're going to try. Denied. He doesn't get in there. Guxue down again, and Shock will take the first points here on Ilios.
And they really didn't, the Shock, or Spark rather, really didn't get any percent outside of what they were given at the start of the match by the Shock, while the Shock were making that compositional switch. So Spark looking a little bit rusty there coming into this first round, and especially Guxue, isolated consistently from the rest of his team and often eliminated first.
Well, that's what we were talking about, right? Where it seems like when they put Guxue in, this guy has got some amazing individual skill on the Reinhardt, but you do see him sort of be out of sync with the team, and it does come down to that language barrier, right? Where 5 members speaking Korean He speaks Chinese. They're trying to make it all work in English, and you're going to have miscommunication in that situation.
Yeah, Guxue had 2 elims and 5 deaths that round, 0 final blows. So he's
Not ideal.
He's lowest elims, highest deaths, and often isolated.
Well,
having a rough Ilios.
A chance to bring it back here on Ruins. Another round on Ilios. Shock trying to win this one to close out the map. First fight, let's see who takes it here. Low health onto Smurf. He's actually eliminated early. Bebe with the finishing blow there. On the Zenyatta, on board with him now as Shock tries to find a way to win this one 5v6. Looks like it's going to be Spark trying to take it first, so is the Diva taken out on the Shock side as well, and so looks like San Francisco is going to need to regroup.
Yeah, Smurf changing over to the Reinhardt. I'm not sure what they were expecting from the Spark there, but I don't think it was the Reinhardt 3-3. Because he sort of just dove into the mass of players and played right into the Reinhardt compositions, getting in range of that hammer for the damage.
Spark likes to throw a lot of DPS in compositions at times when other teams wouldn't, but they're playing it straight up 3-3 today so far. Shock trying to hold the point now as San Francisco on the outside looking in. So you've been down to about half health here. Oh, and he's actually knocked off. Bezzy managed to take him with the whip shot when he didn't have that charge up. That's awkward.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want right now if you're the Shock, although you are coming up to a trance. Spark going to be pursuing this forward a little bit, so not that much time lost as Choi Hyobin comes back. You see Godsby and Rhea on top of the temple there, dealing damage onto Sinatra from above.
Nearly 6 ultimates available for Spark in this next fight, though. They're going to go in with the grab. That's going to be the Transcendence for Shock. Doesn't save Sinatra. Self-destruct. Ooh, barely blocked by Shock, but they've already lost their Zarya. Statistically, it's really unlikely you're going to win the fight after losing that here first. And Choi Hyobin just takes a dive. He's like, nah, man, it's time to go swimming. Swimming right back to spawn, and Shock back to the drawing board.
Yeah, a lot of times you will see these Overwatch players heading off the map to reset themselves so they can rejoin their team, where they don't lose as much percent here on the control point. There's one fight left, really, for the San Francisco Shock.
Here we go again. All right, Rhea knocked down by Smurf's Earth Shatter, but it's going to be the Transcendence from Shock to keep people up, and that's going to lead to Shock just running all over, or Spark, rather, running all over San Francisco Shock. Too many electric teams in the league right now. Either way, it's a quick cleanup for Spark, and we're over 90% now for Hangzhou. Can they close it out? Choi Hyobin desperately trying to get back to the point. He uses the ultimate, tries to get their mini diva, can't quite reach it in time. They do get OT instead. He managed to barely touch it, I guess, but nobody else is going to get there. And we are all tied up on Ilios.
Yeah, really tight ultimate economy at the end there from the Spark. They never committed too much of anything. And you know, we talked about Guxue. Well, he made the big play in that fight by hitting the Earth Shatter. It split up Sinatra from the rest of the team, and the Shatter came in right as Sinatra hit the grab, so the rest of the team unable to follow up while they were stunned, knocked on the ground.
Spark looking pretty happy after that one.
They should. They played well.
You know, that's the flip side, right? That's why a lot of people say you put Guxue in, because he makes those big individual plays, and so it's very binary, right? When he's making the plays, then he's the guy you want in. When he's having the communication issues, then it's like, well, maybe no smite would have been the play after all, but on that round, at least, it was all Guxue. So here we go. On to Well for the third and final round of Ilios. Whoever wins this one wins the map. And Architect actually going to start things off in the McCree. We'll see if they stick with it or if they swap. They're going to go for the Orisa.
This is powerful against the Winston 3-3 that we see Spark running right now, because if you dive in, you can just get stunned by the McCree and burst down instantly.
Fan the Hammer is so good right now. Violet takes out his counterpart Zenyatta. Sinatra and Moth down first, though. And Spark starting to win this fight here. Guxue fleeing, gets chased down by Choi Hyobin. Can they finish him off? I think he got to the health back in time. He should be okay. He is okay. And it's going to be Spark taking the point first again. Doesn't look like we're going to see any changes from Shock just yet, but I don't know. What do you think? Should they? There we go. The swap's coming in
right now.
I was going to be surprised.
Now, Sinatra was on the Brigitte, so by switching over, they do reset their ults back down to 0%.
Well, if there's any time you're going to do it, it's going to be now. If you're going to make those changes, you have to be decisive and you have to do it early. So here we go. Shock trying to come in again without the ultimates that they wish they would have. Sinatra down early. Rhea with an uppercut to the Zarya there to finish him off. Guxue in a lot of trouble, though. They're going to finish him. Violet with the final blow there. Now Choi Hyobin with the self-destruct, catching nobody, but he does get his mech back again. He likes to do that sometimes just to get that diva health back up again. Architect pops a rally. They're not done yet. With Gushui down, this is Shock's time to try to push this. They get caught in the Graviton Surge, but no kills for Spark out of that. Violet with that extra armor. That's not a Zenyatta you want to mess with. He's just going to fire from the outside here. Meanwhile, Spark still gaining that control percent. Shock has not been able to take the point in all of this action here. Using the sound barrier now. Another long fight from these two teams.
Trying to isolate the Primal Rage Winston, but they can't quite get him down. So Gushui somehow still alive through all of this.
Whoa, Rhea caught Smurf somehow. Not sure how he got caught out by that self-destruct, but that is huge for Spark. They never gave over the point, and after you kill that main tank, the rest of the team pretty much has to go running.
Yeah, that was some good zoning there by Gushui, knowing his limits, not going to die in the Primal Rage, and able to control the point this entire time. So San Francisco Shock here in one-fight territory yet again.
That's the thing, and this is one fight away from winning the map and taking lead in the series, so this is a big one. Shock has a lot of ultimates to use here. Coming into it. All right, there's the Graviton Surge. Spark trying to stop them before they can even get to the point. Can they reach it? They can, just barely. Can they win the fight, though? Sinatra's grab got eaten by Rhea. That is huge. Shock without one of their crucial ultimates now. And everyone's going to take a ride. Huge move for IDK. He gets two with it. The Diva and the Brigida going down into the well. And they are not coming out again. Spark winning this fight, and that will be Nepal. Bebe does get knocked into the well himself, but doesn't look like Shock's going to come back from them. That one, Spark taking the early lead in this series.
Yeah, big win here on Ilios. 100-0 on the final 2 points for the Spark. Statement match there on Control.
Well, exciting first map going down to the wire, but in the end, Spark coming out on top. Quick break, and we'll be back with map number 2 right after this.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Her poke comp consists of heroes that have long range damage, such as Pharah or even Widowmaker Hangzhou, who can stay far away from danger while dealing damage. And your goal is just to like poke them out, make them jump on you, and that's when you punish them. So with a poke composition, an example would be on control, where the enemy team has a bunch of tanks and they've gone to the point. You don't want to just rush straight in and start fighting with your poke comp because they're going to outbrawl you. So you want to spam them down with poke over time. And then once they're low enough, or once you've built ults of Pharah or something, then you can go in and play off the poke damage you've already done.
There you go. Cruise a little bit of the Pharah knowledge bomb dropped from above.
Cruise
there you
clues.
go. Cruise clues. Beautiful. I love it. It's great. Well, you know what? If you're a Hangzhou Spark fan, you're loving the result of that first map. They were able to take it 2-1 on Ilios. And what do you think, man? San Francisco Shock kind of struggling a bit on control, huh?
I mean, they lost their control on their last match versus the Titans pretty convincingly.
Yeah.
They lost on control in the 5th map against the LA Gladiators pretty convincingly. I really think that... So they've lost, actually, their last several control maps in a row now.
Pretty convincingly. It's a theme I'm picking up here.
Yeah, I'm just not sold on using Smurf as a main tank on control. It doesn't really seem to synergize that well with Sinatra's more aggressive playstyle. But
hey, what do you
does?
know?
This guy.
It's Super, subbing in for Smurf at the main tank role. A player you and I were talking about during the break. We're like, hey, why don't we see him? And Rascal in for Architect.
This is really interesting to see.
Yeah.
Rascal coming in. He's played on some of these control maps previously. He's a player known for his projectile damage dealer, so shooting a lot of rockets as the Pharah.
Okay, Gushui out, no smite in for Hangzhou Spark. They are making that change over their main tank role. And so it's like we talked about with that team, where Gushui seems to provide the individual power on the main tank role, and No Smite provides the team skills. So we're going to Hollywood next.
I'm not sure what
hybrid
Smurf
map.
provides, though, to be honest. Like, seems to
I don't know.
seems to not make
Or-
the plays,
or ability.
and also doesn't have the greatest synergy with the Shock. So
Well.
I am a bit curious as to what the San Francisco strategy is for using him.
The thing to keep in mind, though, is we are still early in the season, and we are going to see a lot of teams experiment with lineups, experiment with compositions. You still have to test some of this stuff on stage before you really know if you want to stick with it, right? So, the Omnic executive in the limo, unable to drive himself, despite the fact it's a 2-door car. Why does he just scoot over?
I mean, he's a robot. Don't they have robot cars in the future
You
to
think
drive
so?
themselves?
You'd think it'd just be self-driving. I never noticed. It's a 2-door car. What, is he in the trunk or something?
There's a lot of complaints to be had with this map, though.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, there you go. Those are pretty sick wheels, though. Yeah, look at that. In the trunk. I'm rich, but I'm in the trunk of my own car. I need something to drive me to my office. That's the story of Hollywood in Overwatch. There you go.
So here's a question for you. What is Rascal going to do? So Hollywood is a map where normally we just see Reinhardt, triple tank, triple support.
Sure.
So why are you playing Rascal if he's just going to play Brigitte?
Because maybe you want to bring in the Pharah later. He is known for his Pharah. You can see that in Hollywood once in a while. I don't know.
If you're not going to use it on point A attack, where are you going to use it on this map?
Kick it old school, man. Point B
questions
defense.
abound.
We'll see. Rhea, a couple kills on the Shock already. Spark coming up big in this first fight. Baby, it stays alive. That's a clean team kill for Spark, as long as they can finish off Sinatra. And it looks like they will.
So they basically just ran at the cafe high ground, which is where they wanted to go, but Violet died on that approach, which completely nullified that fight. Usually you can't take such a linear approach, just charging forward to a choke point. We're going to see right now. They're going to see Rio's position there because he wants to see if he can catch out Violet again.
Right.
They're just going to go through the same approach.
Oh, going in. All right. Well, this knockup. They knew he was going to be there. Rascal down, though. Doesn't matter. Rhea kept alive. Spark was so ready to support that diva. Oh, now Violet down as well. I mean, that's the thing. Shock knew he was there. They tried to tunnel onto the diva, and they just got themselves trapped.
I don't know what
Plus
you
out the Admiral Akbar, man. It's a trap.
They're just running into this twice in a row now. Instead of taking the outside approach, going to our right, they are left outside of that arch choke point and taking the high ground. So Hangzhou constantly has priority.
Now Godsby's got a ton of charge on the Zarya. Nearly has the ultimate too. Hangzhou Spark coming into this next defensive fight with all the tools they need. Keep this defense rolling. Violet down already. A Fire Strike takes him out. This is disastrous for Shock. They have to fight another 5v6.
I mean, this is disastrous because they're losing fights, and Hangzhou doesn't have to use ultimates, so they're just getting a bigger and bigger bank. And the thing is, they can't contest this.
No Smite gets stunned, but he's going to go in anyway. Rascal is going to run right over them. Man.
This is terrible shot calling from the Shock. So there Zenyatta dies, remember. Zenyatta has no way, because he's very slow, to get to the rest of the composition.
Right.
So when San Francisco Shock goes all the way around the point, the Hangzhou Spark are like, well, we don't have to worry about that Zen. He's never going to get to you. So we have a free 6 versus 5.
You just run into
We
him.
just run at him.
Why not? Yeah. All right, well, Shock have regrouped. Now they're coming in with some ultimates. They've used a lot of time out of their time bank already, though. They need to win a fight right now, and Rhea back in position again. Oh, they're not going through security, though. So Rhea needs to rotate around. Looks like it's going to be a high ground attack, trying to knock Spark off that second level, but it's just going to be the grab. Tossed in there. Self-destruct. They've got him bottled up. And he kills out of that one. Gets Choyabin out of his mech, at least. That's already bad for Shock. They lost both of their tanks. And this is just a massacre, man.
Shock used all 3 of their support ultimates right there. Just layered them on top of each other in that hallway. But because they were trapped there was not really a way for them not to take huge amounts of damage.
I mean,
Shock
have basically one last fight to try to take point A, and if they don't, this is going to be one of the strongest defenses we've ever seen on Hollywood from Spark.
I mean, Super's going to have the Earth Shatter of his life.
Rhea back in position again. Let's see if he can get him. There's going to be IDK coming in with the sound barrier. Gets it on pretty much everybody. On everybody, in fact. And now Spark having to wait. Shock waiting out that sound barrier, letting the shields go away. That's smart. Super now has the Shatter ready to go. Spark looking to jump down on top of this. One tick taken already. So Spark looking a little bit hesitant now. Godspeed does have the grab, though. They're going to drop it in. Choyabin, nothing with the Graviton Surge. Now the grab. There's the charge coming through. No Smite's going to get Rascal. That's a 5v6 for Spark now, but no Smite down. Super taken out soon to follow, though. It's become a brawl on the point. No kills out of that self-destruct, but Spark slowly but surely whittling away the members of San Francisco Shock. They're into the cafe, but it's closing time. Spark shutting the door on the possibilities of Shock taking point A. That's going to be it. A full hold for Hangzhou Spark. They only gave up 1 tick to the Shock.
If I didn't see the colors on these teams, I would have guessed the Shock was last week's Spark, and the Spark were last week's Shock.
I don't know, and any given evening, it seems like at the Overwatch League, this stage, so back and forth between so many teams here.
That was truly awful from the Shock. They didn't respect anybody's positioning. They didn't seem to have any idea what they were doing on their approaches. They wasted a ton of time running around the point at a player disadvantage.
I mean, that was like my plat games. It's like,
it was
let's try going left. Let's try going right.
I'm really confused. I don't know what Rascal is supposed to do in this composition when they've typically been playing Architect on that Brigitte.
Yeah, I don't know. We will see if Shock is able to really turn this one around, but they're going to need to get a Herculean hold here. And, of course, don't forget Boston Uprising versus Toronto Defiant in a few days. Same place right here. Catch it on Twitch, ESPN3, Disney XD, #ad. There you go. It's going to be a fun time, though. Make sure you watch. Now, Shock trying to get their defense going here, but they have to pretty much... I mean, what do you do, right? Spark only needs to take just over the first tick here. It's 53.9% for them to win this map. It's not looking good for San Francisco, but, you know, stranger things have happened.
What I will say about San Francisco is they're very good at playing around Zarya on the high ground, and when Sinatra gets that high ground Zarya automatically on the defense, maybe they can do something with it.
Here we go. Shock needs a monumental hold if they want to win this map. And Spark can play it slow. They're under, no rush here. They can do a couple attacks, do a couple pokes, build some ultimates, and then kind of go for it. They can just try to steamroll too. They've got that high ground. When they jump down, see if Shock can handle it. Right now, the poke war, trying to build some ult charge, but sending that Diva around to the side. Rhea going to be providing a threat from behind. Providing threat onto the point here as Shock runs up, speed boosted on the high ground. They're going to switch positions. And Spark now looking like the defenders again, and they've won a lot of fights from this position. Rhea trying to build up that ultimate. Already nearly one tick for Hangzhou Spark as Shock comes back in again. Retaking the point. It's a dance. An elaborate dance.
It's a ring around the rosy between the high ground and the point right now, but the tick was taken there, or has not been taken yet, excuse me, by the Spark. They're going to try it one more time.
Yep. All right, they're going to swap again. Shock wanting that high ground drop-down advantage. They're going to drop down immediately. Super, though, got to watch out. He's got the ultimate right now, that Earth Shatter online. Spark a little bit split up here.
We're just going to go in circles.
Watch this all day, man. I think we will.
The Shock are just dropping when the Hangzhou Spark are about to take that first tick at 33%.
It's like when the Velociraptors were chasing those kids around in Jurassic Park. They just kept switching positions.
Yeah, except,
the kids escaped. And this time, I don't know. Shock's going to get out of this one alive. Spark coming in. They've got the ultimates now. It's going to be Transcendence first for Shock. They got the rally as well. Rhea knocked down by that Earth Shatter, but not a lot else being done from that Reinhardt ultimate. Spark in prime position to come back on this one. And we'll see if they can finish it off. They're going with the Transcendence. There's another Earth Shatter coming down. Viol2t taken out by No Smite. Got charged. The shield from Lucio a little bit too late, but Shock. Whoa, they're able to swing this run around big time.
They lost track of Sinatra, and Sinatra
so.
went up to the high ground, ran all the way around the Spark formation, dropped on them, and then hit them with that Graviton Surge, which just sucked everybody into that point, and he was just dealing crazy damage to them.
After all that, Sinatra breaks out the IQ 400 plays and manages to eventually fake out Spark. So now Spark coming back in. They've still got a couple ultimates to use. Meanwhile, Shock has Super's Earth Shatter again, ready to go. Shock back on the point. I feel like I've seen this before. Oh, but this time they catch Moth. All right, now it's a little bit of a different story. The 6v5 advantage going to Spark for now. And Godspeed's got the grab. He's just going to lob it in there. Viol2t does get the kill on the No Smite, but Choyo been down. Super in a lot of trouble, loses his shield. Not much health left. He has to hide. There's no way he can contribute until he gets healing. Choyo Bin's out of the mech. Super has to get back in there. He got some shield charge back. He's rejoined the fight, but Rascal is down. Now the grab comes in, and Bebe right there with the Transcendence. The Earth Shatter looks scary, but they do have the healing. It doesn't matter, though. Shock still, in the end, able to get the kills they were looking for.
Moth made
what a
it back,
crazy fight.
And the Trance actually didn't come into the Graviton. They managed to get supports. The Spark supports caught in the Graviton and killed them before the Trance came in from Bebe. And all of a sudden, Shock might actually do this.
We said it's possible. It wasn't likely, but it is possible. Just 10 seconds left for Shock to hold to win this map and tie up the series. Hangzhou Spark, desperation mode as they try to get on there. Gosby nearly has his Graviton Surge, though. Oh, but IDK down, though. Viol2t with a huge pick. Spark has to fight it 5v6. And the grab, ready to go for Gosby. He gets stunned, though. Gosby in trouble. No Smite down already. This grab has to be huge. Choyobin throws in the self-destruct. No kills, but it's a sound barrier on the side of Shock to keep them in the game, and they are getting the kills to close this one out. I cannot believe it. One of the greatest holds I have ever seen in Overwatch. San Francisco Shock somehow managed to do it. They will win Hollywood and tie this series up.
Shock woke up at the end there. I think they realized they were sort of on autopilot. They made some really interesting plays to actually pull out that map win.
Saw Moth wiping his brow at the end of that one. That is a stressful round to go through, but they did it. We're in for a great series. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota, official North American partner of the Overwatch League. Toyota, let's go places. We've got a good one on our hands to close out the night. After the Spark took our first map, the Shock come charging back. And look at this. We're all tied up one apiece. It's Brent, it's Zoe, it's Puckett. We're back to talk all of the first half action. And when we were watching the games in the back, we couldn't stop talking about the tanks. Zoe, Brent, what were we looking at, especially on that first map?
Yeah, it was an interesting one because in a lot of our minds, this is supposed to be very Shock favored, and it's ended up kind of going all over the place a little bit. And we've seen multiple different main tanks in the game. So it started out, we got Smurf, we got Gushui on either side. They got subbed out a little bit later. But all around, I was just a little bit confused by the way Shock were playing this. Shock are a good team, but they're playing this as if they were a bad team. I'm going to be real with you.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that they're opening with these compositions, they're switching it up, they're losing their ultimates because they're swapping their heroes midway through the round, and they're giving the Hangzhou Spark an advantage because of that. And Hangzhou are looking radically better than they did the other day.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of hero swaps. Do you think that they just had a bad game plan every time coming out of the gates, or why did we see so many swaps throughout that first game in your eyes?
It's honestly really hard to tell because it just looked like they were all over the place. I'm not quite sure if the communication was an issue there or what exactly it was. Maybe they were unprepared, but that can't really be it either because we know exactly what to expect from Spark coming in if we're seeing who is playing. Like, it's no surprise that we're going to see Gushui on that control map. So they should be prepared for the kind of aggression he's also bringing to the team. So I'm not quite sure whether they were caught off guard in every regard.
I'll be honest, Shock looked a bit off their game, especially when we went into Hollywood. When are we seeing the Shock not make it to point 3 in a hybrid? Let's take a look at some of the highlights here. Some of the good ones, though, are on the other side.
Yeah.
No Smite comes back in the action here for the Spark, and some great charges to kick things off before slowing down in the second half, Brett.
Looking so good for Spark, wasn't it? Opening up again. I mean, Shock, they look out of sorts. They look a little bit lost during this match. And Spark, they're looking fantastic. Or at least that's what we thought going into it. And then the side switch round, suddenly Shock are defending, and they managed to get a full hold on the first point. This is almost unheard of. This never happens.
We have to talk about the kill differential we had. After round 1, Shock had one single
They
kill.
had one kill.
One kill.
One kill,
That's
Bucket.
it.
One
That's
kill.
all they got. And it took them third of the second half to accumulate more kills than one. I don't know what happened.
Looking at the final numbers here, Brent, break it down for me. It looks like, to me, Super has a bit of an advantage. We've seen 4 tanks through 2 games so far for these two teams. Who do you want to see in the second half? Who steps up?
I want to see Super as well continue to play in this game. I don't think Super's a bad main tank by any means. And there's a little narrative going around. People have been, disrespecting him a little bit, putting disrespect on the Super name. I think he's actually quite a good main tank. I want to see him as well continue to perform later into this series.
Zoe, do you got the Spark winning this one, or are you going with the Shock?
I mean, we all predicted the Spark, right? On the chance that it happened, so I guess I'm sticking to it. I think I'm gonna stick with it. Godspeed really impressed. 81% average energy is what he had during the majority of the game, so he's gonna bring it home for them.
So he's going with the Spark. Brent, close out halftime. Who wins the final match of the night?
I think Shock are getting back into their A game. I think Shock are going to be taking this one.
Well, I want to give a shout out to everyone watching us on Disney XD, and of course, let us know in the chat, who do you think's winning this one? The second half is just moments away.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League. We have got a pretty exciting series on our hands. It's 1-1. I say exciting. Monty is that's the Monty face that says, but it wasn't high-level Overwatch. But you know what, Monty? Sometimes it's just fun, all right? It's silliness. They were just running around from the bottom floor to the top floor over and over again without any apparent purpose, and that entertained me, all right? Just give me that.
It sort of entertained me in a way.
It entertained all of us. Yeah, well, let's check this out. We got some substitutions coming in. It's going to be Nevix coming in for Choi Bin. That's right, making swap at the flex position. Flex tank, usually D.Va. And the one, the only, Adora coming in for Bezzy on the side of Hangzhou Spark.
Okay, I like this swap.
Do you?
Yeah, Adora dies on average 5 times less per 10 minutes while playing on Brigitte than Bezzy does. Doesn't quite do as much healing, but I think you take that massively fewer number of deaths for 10 minutes every time.
Well, with less deaths, you're doing more consistent healing.
That's true.
So that's the thing. Maybe Bezzy does a lot of healing, because he's in the front lines, hitting everybody with left click, but then he dies. Whereas Adora, perhaps a little bit more healing, as he lives longer and stretches out over the fight. We will see. Again, things start on Temple of Anubis. It's going to be Hangzhou Spark on the defense first. San Francisco Shock on the attack. Here we go.
Yeah, both teams going to be running the Reinhardt, so this choke battle is the most important part of the map now for both of these teams.
Right.
So they are going to be running mirror compositions.
That's true. Sinatra in a little bit of trouble, but it's going to be Super that falls first. No Smite got low, but he got healed up as well and grabs a couple of kills for himself, and the Spark send the Shock back to the generator.
Yeah, and right there, you see them just speed boosting out. They disengage at the right time. Nevix falling actually allows them to escape because they have to kill both the mecha suit on the D.Va as well as the pilot D.Va.
Yeah.
They'll try for attempt number 2 right now for the Shock into the choke point.
Indeed. Well, that was a really bold move by Violet, man. He just cruised across that opening without any protection at all. Super, though, speaking of protection, he needs it, but he doesn't get it. Down again. No Smite drops the Earth Shatter, but it's kind of unnecessary as that fight was pretty much over already as soon as Reinhardt fell.
They tried to leave Nevix there just in case, but they should be able to retreat out of this. Super, again, isolated. He got chunked out massively at the start of this. He doesn't have a lot of healing if his Brigitte is not hitting people with her flail and triggering that Inspire area of effect heal.
Very true. That said, both Brigittes have the rally. They're going to go ahead and use them. There's going to be the Graviton Surge for Spark. Super again in trouble. Taken out. No Smite with 2 kills again, just swinging away. And now Spark goes on the chase. They get a couple on the way out. And man, if they can get a big stagger on the Nevix. Oh, they defect him right at the end. That is awful for Shock.
That's so bad.
Because now if Nevix wants his mech back, he has to swap. He has to swap heroes, and then he loses all that ultimate charge. You can see he's not willing to do that.
Yeah, that means, though, that they're going to have to take this push even slower because he has to poke there with his little pistol, trying to get his mech back, get up to 100% ult charge. However, Hangzhou, they did use the Graviton Surge. So San Francisco Shock going to be coming in here. A nice ult economy in just a few seconds.
Notice Moth up on top, looking for an opportunity to jump down behind the Reinhardt and knock him into his own team. Not going to find that opportunity, though, but those Lucios always going to be bouncing around up there. Nevix does get his mech back, which is nice, and that's going to be the go button. They're charging in now. Shock trying to make it happen. Graviton Surge ready to go for Sinatra. They've got Spark backed into the corner. Spark with a lot of ultimates to respond with, too. They got to keep those supports safe, though. If they're going to weather this storm, Smite drops Ear Shatter, gets 2. That's going to be the sound barrier from Shock, though, in response. Meanwhile, Bebe drops the Transcendence. Here come the self-destructs. Kills. There goes Bebe. They got 1 on the Shock side, and now Super lands. Well, it's a shatter, but it's not the best in the world. That said, Shock's still fighting this one short-handed. So it's going to be an opportunity for them to finish this off, and that's going to be it. Point A, lockdown by San Francisco Shock. They'll take it.
Yeah, they're going to get that, and even though Bebe had the sound barrier on him, the proximity of that mech just a little bit too close in the self-destruct. It can do up to 1,000 damage.
Yep.
So if you position it perfectly, even if you have all of the 800 barrier from the Lucio, you technically still can kill that Zenyatta, and it was just enough.
Shock wasting no time and dashing towards the cave here, too. They know they've got a little window where they've got some ultimates coming up. They've got the momentum, and they're going to try to use it to seal the deal, get themselves a nice big time bank here on Anubis. Rally coming in for Spark. And Shock just going to back away. Wait that out. No, they're going to drop down the grab. They're going to go for it. No smite. Taken out. That's another 2 kills for Super. He has been so eager to get in there and connect with the hammer. Another 2 dropped by the Earth Shatter, and Shock may have just done it. They've got to deal with the respawns here, but they have put themselves in a position to get a very good time on Temple of Anubis. Spark can't even get back to defend the point. And that is going to be a pretty large time bank for San Francisco.
Yeah, a few errors at the beginning right there, especially, and some problems that they had to face, especially with Nevix getting demeched, losing them a lot of time. But here you go. Here's a nice Earth Shatter for you from Super Sinatra. That's a great play from Sinatra.
Yeah.
There's no way to defensive matrix that. They bait them into the corner, and really, truly, the Spark should have never been on that corner. You don't fight for corners you don't have to take.
Yep. I mean, Super understanding how to turn those early kills into a teamfight win, too, knowing that if he chased down the supports with his Earth Shadow, there'd be no way to defend against that.
I mean, it was good from the Shock to follow up on a positional error by the Spark, but the thing about Overwatch is fighting for corners is very important because you get that cover as the defending team, but you don't have to walk into that choke point because the Shock have to come to you to take the point. So exposing yourself to that kind of Graviton Surge is a bit of a question mark.
Indeed. So, now we flip things up a little bit. Hangzhou Spark going on the attack here. San Francisco Shock will be defending. They're going to be defending with the 3-3 based around the Reinhardt. Spark, there's some interesting hero choices in the lobby, but I don't think they're going to stick around with this. I'd love to see some Ashe, of course, some more Hammond, but I think we're going to see some swaps. Gosby might take a couple shots on that Widowmaker, though. We'll see.
Yeah, might take a peek here. Nope, we're not going to go for it. IDK will switch back to the Lucio.
Yeah.
And it will be the exact same compositions for both teams and the exact same scenario we saw on the San Francisco Shock attack, and probably the exact same route as Hangzhou Spark should swing left through the door.
Standard stuff here on Temple of Anubis.
They're going to try and take
right
high ground. That is a little bit risky, but now that they know there's a Reinhardt, it is less problematic.
I mean, now they're just going to get poked like crazy in that room. Yeah. That's a rough one. All right. Going to rotate around now. Ooh, no smite, a little bit separated from his team. They need to be careful here. Moth looking for the boop. Ooh, can't quite get it. Spark jetting their way into that upper hallway just in time. They're going to be able to take that high ground. So they've got the position they want. Waiting it out, getting people healed up. Ooh, they're going to rotate back around. All right, trying to charge in now. Just going through the front door. Going across the bridge. They've got Shock back on the point.
I mean, okay, but they need to do something. They're not actually pressuring the objective very hard. Finally, they're getting onto it.
Yeah, the hesitancy that we saw in Hollywood kind of showing itself again here on Temple of Anubis, it seems like. Rascal down. Okay, they managed to grind 1 kill out. All right, hey, you'll take it if you're the Spark. Coming in now. A lot of low health members, though. Shock still with a chance to turn this one around. Bebe has that Transcendence in case things get too hairy. There we go. Perfect use as the Graviton Surge comes out. Super does kill Adora during all of that. And now, Bebe pops his Transcendence. Adora gets killed with the charge, actually. Self-destruct comes in. No kills on that one, but now no smite without his shield. Got to be careful. That grab catches Super and Violet. They're going to get him with the charge. Super really low. They finish him off. And Spark, it's a grind, but they're going to get A eventually.
Way too many ults were used in that fight from both teams. Yeah. I can't believe Spark bought into that. I mean, the Shock committed so much at the end of that engagement, including their Transcendence. And Hangzhou, you have to believe that they didn't have to use that Graviton Surge. Godspeed could be heading into B with that right now, but
hey,
I think they panicked a little bit.
Spark takes point A, about 6 minutes in the time bank to take B. A real opportunity here for them to get more time even than the Shock did if they can do this quickly. Rally used by Shock as they come in. IDK forced to respond with that sound barrier. Giving his team those extra shields as they push forward. Super in big trouble. He's going to go down. They've been so good in these last couple fights of peeling Super off from the rest of the team.
I mean, they lost their only 2 ults, Toa. They lost the sound barrier because Moth went down as well.
Yep, that's huge. 1 tick taken, make it 2 for Shock, or for Spark rather. Shock with 1 more chance to come and try to defend this. They're going to drop the Earth Shatter instead. Super coming in with the Zarya shield on top of him. Nobody with his ultimate, and now the grab for Spark again. Sound barrier to try to keep people up. Great boop, sets up the double kill for Rhea with that self-destruct. Spark got him right where they wanted him, and now it's just about handling those respawns as long as they can live. Nice shield. No Smite gets in there just at the end, and that is a great round for Spark.
Yeah, sound barrier came down too early for Moth, so there wasn't enough overshield protection to handle the self-destruct coming in from Hangzhou.
Man, great play at the end for No Smite, man. His team caught up in the grab. He jumps in front of the shield, saves him. Quick break. We'll be back right after this. Temple of Anubis. Both teams able to complete their attack runs. Hangzhou Spark doing it a bit faster though. 5:03 in the time bank. Let's take a look at this replay though from Bebe. Managing to save No Smite. Check that out. 10 HP. 10 hit points left for that Reinhardt. That is a clutch transcendence if I've ever seen one. San Francisco Shock now attacking first as they have a bit less time in their time bank. 3:52 to start things off with as they go on the assault one more time.
And you see a much better attack here on A from the San Francisco Shock. Took him quite a long time to bust through this initial choke point.
IDK, we know what an aggressive Lucio he is, making the difference. No Smite down early though, so this attack in a little bit of trouble here.
I mean, it's basically even because the Diva has been demacked on the side of the Spark.
I suppose. Losing that Reinhardt hurts a bit, though.
I mean, they can just wait right now. Shock has no impetus because they can poke out of this. They took the high ground, and they're going to have the faster respawns. This is great. This is absolutely great for the Shock.
Spark. Rhea does get his mech back again. Even better for the Shock are the kills they've been able to get on the two supports, catching Adora and Bebe off guard, and that's going to be a quick point A. Spark already pulling back. IDK just decides to take the death taxi back to spawn.
I mean, that was a really good trade of eliminations there for the Shock. Even though they only got one, getting the mech is as good as an elimination, and it gets you free access to the choke point. Super just going to charge his way into the front line, trying to make sure this snowball works for them. No ults are up yet. Violet the closest here.
Yeah, you got to make sure that Reinhardt shield's in the front. You know, they may just decide, okay, they're going around the right side, trying to charge in with the Lucio. They're going to jump over the wall there. But Nevik's getting pretty low. Violet as well. Shock may have run right into some serious danger here. Sinatra, though, charged up, but there goes Violet. He drops the grab, but they've already lost their Zenyatta. Can they win this fight short-handed? No, they lose Super as well. And Spark able to weather that Graviton surge, and I think Sinatra may have been a little bit too quick on the trigger with that one.
Yeah, you traded for the Transcendence, but that's not an amazing trade if you are the San Francisco Shock.
Oh, the Transcendence is just going to come back faster in most cases. We do have, I mean, if anyone's going to build the grab fast, it's going to be Sinatra, but average, I think, if you look at it, the Transcendence is going to come up a little bit sooner.
And you could be Sinatra, and you could be a great Zarya player, but you still have no charge, which is going to hurt you when it comes to building that Graviton surge quickly.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Shock. Trying again. Hopping from rooftop to rooftop. Pretty agile for a Reinhardt, I gotta say.
Yeah, you can really move around for a man in a giant full suit of armor.
It's technology for you, man. Can't explain that. Goodbye, Super. You can explain that. He got charged by No Smite, cut off from the rest of his team, and now Spark with another 6v5. Shock a lot of ultimates, but I don't know. Do you commit anything to this? I'd be pretty wary to do that, especially with Nevix out of the equation as well. And yeah, Shock doing the intelligent thing here, just kind of letting everybody die and going back to spawn, saving those ultimates, but you look at the Spark side too, and they're going to have nearly everything available for them as well.
On a lot of these defenses, though, on Hollywood and now on Anubis, Spark has had to use very few ultimates. In fact, no ultimates a lot of the time in order to hold. It will be 6 versus 5. It's probably going to be Shock's best opportunity with only a minute 20 left.
Yeah, you're running out of time at this point if you're San Francisco. You need to make something happen fast. They have all 6 ultimates. It does not get any better than this. Rally now for Shock as they come in, but they lose Rascal. How in the world do you lose people like that? They just ran into the wood chipper, and Spark just roasts him.
I mean, he got stunned. What do you say? I'm confused that
Why is that
Rascal
Brigitte
is
up
even
there?
playing on this map as Brigitte because we just haven't seen anything else that is a typical Rascal hero.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, too, is that Brigitte got a little bit too far up.
They used Rally for nothing, too.
Yep. Well,
So now Spark is going to have an ultimate advantage on what will be the last fight of this round.
36 seconds remaining for San Francisco Shock as they go for a last-ditch attack here in their extra round of Time Bank here on Temple of Anubis. We're all tied up in this series. They'd really love to take the lead, but if they can't win a fight here, they're in serious trouble. And there's a grab. Okay. Violet has to pop that Transcendence early. They're going to send in the Self-Destruct later. Super has to turn his shield. Now Self-Destruct comes in. They do get IDK. So Shock with an opportunity here to push forward. Spark has already used their shield. We're going to go into overtime either way, though. No smite down. And Shock just kind of rolling over Spark. They were able to pull it out in the end. That Self-Destruct, taking out IDK. So crucial. The barrier was a little bit early there. Now the Mei wall comes out. IDK swapping over to that hero just to try to stall as long as he can. But I don't know, man. It's going to be really, really tough to turn this one around for Shock. They've got some people up now, but they've got another Transcendence on the Shock side. Adora down again. There's a grab, but you need a decisive win if you're going to force Shock off of that one. Moth does go down. Spark trying to turn it around. I don't know, though, but no smite knockdown. That probably saved Violet as well, and I think Shock should have this one all locked up at this point. More respawns to deal with, but it's looking good for San Francisco.
I mean, they're slowly getting that percent up right now, and they are eventually going to grind this point out.
I think eventually...
Super!
Oh, Super! He's down. Well, I don't know, man. Spark, they might have an opportunity here.
Oh, that
Crazy
anti-heal by the Ana might be, in fact, enough, though. They hit him with the Biotic Grenade.
It's a race of respawns now, but look, there's Rhea with the self-destruct. Rascal gets his shield up in time. They've got more people from Shock back on the point. 99.3% right now for Shock to take
Blizzard.
it. But IDK, that's a Blizzard. It's a great Mei wall as well, and they might have done it. Are you kidding me? Crazy turnarounds, but no! Now Shock comes back again. Sinatra with the Sombra swap. That was a crazy end of that round. Shock in overtime gets it done.
Super getting back there quickly. Same with Sinatra on the Wrecking Ball and the Sombra using their movement abilities just to get back to the point.
What can you say?
That was very clutch. Finishing the map like that, that would be a great burden off of the San Francisco Shock and force the Spark to come through and capture both points. But they do have plenty of time at 5 minutes.
I mean, that's the thing is Spark was able to make it happen, but only just barely. Deep in overtime were they able to take that second point. Let's take a look at this. It's amazing that Sinatra was actually able to make the swap to Sombra and get the EMP. He even dodged the Blizzard, which I'm kind of shocked about too. No pun intended.
Yeah, and also Super coming in there, getting the overshields onto the Hammond, making it work with Sinatra, yeah, just squeaking out of that Blizzard and getting the EMP, preventing a lot of those abilities from being used on the frozen members of his team. Actually didn't hit anybody with the EMP.
I was going to say.
Turns out he
0.
missed it.
Well, yeah, he still got 70 limbs there, man. I mean, for that swap at the last minute. And you don't need to necessarily... I mean, it's nice if you hit the EMP, but he got the hacks, and that's important. So now, Shock on the defense. Hangzhou Spark on the attack. 5 minutes and 3 seconds in the time bank. Plenty of time for them to take 2 points and have time to spare if they're able to execute it like they did the first time around. Let's watch.
Let's watch. They're going to try the approach here on the right to take the high ground. Speed boosting over. Super's going to get a couple good swings in there. Already there at 30%, so did some damage.
Well, Shock manages to claim the high ground without losing anybody. That's ideal. But like you said,
where's Spark going right now? Okay, so they're just pushing out slowly. Looked like they were trying to potentially think about dropping right there. Super already on the point.
Well, you've got Godsby up on the high ground too, just roasting people with that Zarya. Building up that charge pretty quick. Already over 30%. You got to drop down some point. That's what they're going to do. Don't want to use up too much time on the time bank. Sinatra gets a shield on himself. Needs that healing. Now it's going to be Spark on point A. Super's got to be careful here. He has died a lot early on in some of these fights. You can tell the focus onto Super, onto Sinatra for these tanks. But the percentage building up for Spark. Oh no, no smite down. The Transcendence comes in, but it's too late. They've already lost their Reinhardt, and now it's a scramble for Spark to try to close this point out. But Shock looking pretty good here. Rascal, as soon as I say that, goes down though. Violet responding, super low health. If they can finish off Super, Spark has a chance to grind this fight out. Bebe looking for it, gets Sinatra before he gets taken out himself by Nevix. Graviton Surge comes in, and with the sound barrier, Shock able to claim ownership over this point again.
Oh, that's bad too. IDK had an ineffective sound barrier at the end of that, so the Spark will have one fewer ultimate. Godspeed also throwing out the Graviton Surge. So Hangzhou Spark, if they didn't use those ults, they probably could have just come back and capped, but now they've sort of equalized themselves with the Shock.
There's been a bit of indecisiveness sometimes from the Spark. We saw it on Hollywood, and now I feel like we're seeing it a little bit on the Anubis attack right now as well. They're going in, they gotta commit, self-destruct just to push Shock off the high ground, it looks like there. Spark has the rally, letting that armor build up as they rotate. And charging onto the point now, re-up on the high ground. It's gonna be the self-destruct. Drops down, nobody hit by that one. Super in a little bit of trouble, Violet.
Playing a dangerous game right there by himself on that flank. That's a position you pop out at the wrong time and you can just instantly die.
I was going to say, I thought we were going to see Violet die in just a moment there, but no, he lives. Spark got pushed back. And now Spark trying to regroup, taking the high ground again.
I mean, Spark has been so indecisive both on Hollywood and here.
Yeah, it's bizarre to see them kind of operate this way. Going down the point now. If they can get a kill on the Super, that's going to be huge with Super. Oh, that's the Shatter gets blocked by Super, actually. Violet with the self-destruct, or not self-destruct, he's got the trance out. Not self-destruct on anybody. Now Shock has the grab back in there, and Super grabs 2 again. So Spark, when it comes down to it, in the high-pressure scenarios, they just have not been able to get it done.
No, they're just walking around waiting for an advantage, but that advantage never appears, and now Rhea's going to get brutally staggered here.
That is savage, man.
That's Hangzhou Spark struggling to even cap point A. They do have time, but they reset their own ult economy again. Godspeed at least coming up with that Graviton Surge. So this is their big opportunity. This might be their biggest opportunity.
You got to do something. Already down to a minute 30.
I mean, your combo's going to get canceled out by the sound barrier, though.
Quite possible. Moth nearly has that ready to go. Super with a nice fire strike.
That was a good one.
That was very devastating, actually. Did not get blocked by the Diva. Going in with the rally again. Our Spark. They're going to push Super back down onto the low ground. Now the grab comes in for Spark. This is the one that needs to do a lot. The boop comes in. They get Sinatra. That works out. Maria gets caught as well. Now the Shatter comes through. Where's the follow-up? The sound barrier protecting the members of Spark rather, as they lie prone. And now, No Smite tried to go in with his Earth Shatter. He's going to be okay here. Shock responding. Super comes right back with a Fire Strike kill onto Adora. And Spark scrambling now. They've got one more attack, and they're going to lose another map if they can't make it happen right here, right now.
I mean, Moth's sound barriers have been late on these combos, or actually early, excuse me, because they've been actually eliminating members of his own team as the shield fades away. He's not playing around Rhea's self-destruct very well. Nevix saved them with his own self-destruct elimination. If that hadn't happened, that fight would have really been on the Lucio on Moth.
Well, we'll see. Rascal has the rally still ready to go. He's going to use it at the moment. Shock just trying to hold them right at the door. They're going to break through. Godspeed, he gets his Graviton Surge eaten by Nevix. Good start for Shock as they try to hold on for just a bit longer and win this map, but Adora is down. Shock with a 6v5 now. Whip shot. Working out well. There goes IDK. Rascal getting 2 now. Sinatra's grab gets eaten, but Spark has already lost a few members. How do you win this one shorthanded as we go into overtime here? Rhea gets demeched. Nevix with another one. And man, I think that is all she wrote for Spark. IDK. That stands for I don't know how Spark is going to win this fight. The answer is they won't. Nevix eats Godspeed's grab. And that's it. Shock will win another map off a great defense and take the lead in this series.
Nevix ate 2 ults on that last push. Very nicely done.
Yeah. Well, what a crazy map that was. Shock again coming up with the big defensive efforts. A quick break, guys, and we'll be back with map number 4.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP. the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League. The San Francisco Shock take the lead in the series after that great defensive effort on Temple of Anubis. But you look at these teams, it hasn't exactly been the cleanest affair as far as the Overwatch we've been seeing tonight. But Shock able to at least come up big in this defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a stat night for Monty, guys.
the way I feel about it is that the Spark have been given some really good opportunities to win on their attack rounds, and they spend so much time running around in circles, not doing anything, that they're unable to capitalize on these really, really huge advantages that they have, and it's been weird.
I mean, it's not so weird, actually. If you think about the team names themselves, you've got Spark and Shock. They're just like positive and negative, just kind of circling around each other. It's just science, Monty.
It's just science. They actually can't fight each other. They're just repelling each other like two magnets.
Pretty much, yeah. I was an art major. Don't question me on these things. There you go. Well, let's take a look at the Diva matchup from that last one. It was Rhea versus Nevix, of course. And Nevix coming up with quite a few, I believe, eating two Graviton Surges at the end of that last map, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, this has been obviously quite strange. I think Rhea has had some really good self-destruct combos in combination with Godspeed's Graviton Surge.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Moth hasn't been on point with the sound barrier timings, which I feel like has really caused a lot of these kills to happen. He's been sound burying super early in a lot of these fights, so that by the time the self-destruct comes in, the overshield is almost worn off because it does tick down over time.
So from Rio in our last match to Rhea in this one, if these two teams ever play each other, it's going to be a problem. But for now, Spark needs to find a way to tie this series up. And again, the big theme for Hangzhou Spark coming into this series was which Spark are we going to see, right? And I feel like I was expecting we were going to see either good Spark or bad Spark. We're seeing just kind of like indecisive Spark in this one. It's kind of like this third version we've never encountered before, where I just kind of walk around points without really ever doing anything.
I feel like we're seeing pretty good defensive spark combined with awful offensive spark.
It's a weird night,
really
man.
weird.
I don't know. Let's take a look at some substitutions. It's going to be Choi Ho-bin coming back in, subbing in for Nevix at the flex tank role.
I still haven't figured out San Francisco Shock's subbing strategy. When Nevix plays, when Choi Hyobin plays.
You got people back there rolling a dice.
Equally, Revenge coming in for Bebe. I still haven't figured out how Spark is using these two support players and what exactly they bring to the team.
Well, we'll find out. Bezzy back in for Adora. Now, they played a lot more Bezzy in their matches here than Adora so far.
I think Bezzy makes sense because this, at least when we go to Route 66, has a level of flexibility on it.
True.
Where you could see Bezzy playing some other things. That one, I get. Sure. Revenge, I think, has been pretty consistently a downgrade over Bebe. And for the Shock, I mean, here we have Rascal in for this entire match, apparently, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever because they've spent all of their matches this season grooming Architect in order to play the Brigitte role, and Architect is a very, very, very flexible player himself. So if you're not going to use any Rascal specialist heroes like the Pharah, why are you playing Rascal in this match?
I mean, don't get us wrong. Rascal is also known for his flexibility in the DPS role. So, but like said, if they're not going to actually have him do that, then why swap him out?
Right. When you already have Architect on that Brigitte, and you've been playing at a very high level with Architect on the Brigitte.
All right, well, Bezzy getting some free shots. Just right down the train car, right through the Reinhardt shield. Into the Zarya shield. Got to be careful there. Has to back away. Now and Moth down. Revenge gets him with the Sonic Arrow. Can you see me now? Sinatra takes out Godsby as well. IDK manages to get the res, actually, so this Bastion is still in action. And Shock may have to run here.
I mean, they got the Orisa, though, so they're going to be fine. In the end, it's still going to be a 5 versus 4 here for the Shock. Well, not anymore.
That is a brave thing, Godsby. Bezzy gets two.
Wow.
Here we go. Yes, why you put this guy back in. This is why you put this guy back in.
There you go. That's why you put him in, because you have a different plan. Now, that is a fight that should have been won by the Shock, but Bezzy turns it on its head with the Widowmaker by getting the pickoffs that allow the rest of his teammates to respawn and run back to the formation. So it was looking great for the Shock before Bezzy started clicking on heads.
Wow, they're just going to send the Dragon Strike right through the cart. They're making sure that Shock has to turn back around again.
It's a delay tactic, and
great delay.
You know, the Shock are going to try and break this with a triple tank, triple support, but this is hard to approach this high ground.
I mean, that Coalescence does a lot of damage. Godsby in trouble here. Super just runs in and knocks him off with a hammer. No Smite does take out Rascal, who is pretty far forward yet again. IDK once more manages to get the Mercy res, and that's going to let Godsby use his Bastion ultimate right now. It's a lot of damage going into Shock. They need to back out. Oh, but he gets stunned in return by Super's Earthshatter. Manages to just barely live long enough to jump back into turret form, but doesn't really get any damage done. Meanwhile, that Dragon Strike absorbed by Choi Ho-bin. Spark in trouble, and finally, Shock get that payload really moving.
We'll generously call Sinatra's Graviton Surge a zoning grab there, because it did, in fact, zone out the Bastion in the tank mode from trying to mow down the rest of the team. That is a generous description of it.
Fair enough. You're so kind.
But they're still going to be coming in with a little bit of a difficulty. Violet had the only ultimate up, but that Coalescence cuts through those barriers and got them the first kill.
Revenge going to be looking for some as he's first to fall in this fight. There goes Moth, though. Now Violet nearly up to another Coalescence again on this Moira. Spark have to find a way to drop down onto this. No Smite with a very low amount of health here. It's going to be tough to make it happen. Self-destruct catches Godsby in the back, and you're not going to win a lot of fights when your Zarya dies first, as we've seen so far in the Overwatch League this year, and that will be a fight going to Shock. They're going to finish point A.
Yeah, Shock looking a lot more decisive on this attack round than we've seen so far. Finally going to be moving up onto some high ground here with a heavy ultimate advantage. And after that swap, Hangzhou held on for a little bit there, but now they've had to reset their ults by changing out all of their heroes. So Shock should have a relatively easy ride here through the first part of point B.
Yeah, and when you look at Route 66, generally B is going to be your easiest point in this map. It's really A and C that give you the most trouble as the attacker. Sinatra, though, lurking, ready to descend from the heavens with that Graviton Surge. That's exactly what he's going to do.
My.
Oh, they are all over him. Woo.
I mean,
That was horrifying.
the Graviton Coalesces combo is pretty strong, Doa, because
It
you
does
can have
damage.
those barriers. You can try and block it with a
Right.
Reinhardt shield, but it just won't do anything at all. Cuts through your entire team while they're clustered up.
Base jumping does not look as fun as it looks on some of the videos I've seen. I don't know.
Well, you have to wear a special suit for that. Though.
Oh,
that's
that's
the thing.
I can't.
I wouldn't recommend doing it without
I
it.
see where he did it wrong now. Got it.
But you know,
Payload's
there's no
still
fall
moving.
damage in Overwatch, so
Well, sometimes. Unless you fall off the edge. There's no coming back from that. Spark has a lot of ultimates coming into this next defensive fight. We'll see if Shock can keep pushing here. Bezzy and No Smite, the front line there. It's going to be the rally coming in for both sides. Sinatra just bouncing up and down on top of the payload, doing a lot of damage on that Zarya. They're going to actually get the Transcendence out from Revenge. That's a little bit surprising here. Now the grab comes in. Self-destruct gets Sinatra. Another great displacement comes in and gives him a kill out of that one. Now No Smite has to respond with his own Earth Shatter. They're going to take him out with Choyobin's self-destruct, though. Didn't have the shield up in the right place. And Super chasing down Rhea. Not even pausing to put a quarter in the jukebox and get some nice tunes on. He's only out for blood and point taken.
wow, this was a crazy fight that should have been won by the Spark, but they used a lot of their support ultimates early.
Super early, yeah.
And Shock disengaged from their Transcendence. And again, it was a Diva self-destruct equalizing thing that then forced Godspeed to use the Graviton Surge to try and clean it up.
Yeah.
So Hangzhou Spark invests a crazy amount of ultimates, 5 ults, and get really not a whole lot for it.
Yeah, all they have right now is going to be the Earth Shatter for No Smite, and you're going to need a bit more than that. I think, probably, he uses it. They don't get a lot out of it. Now the Graviton Surge in response from Shock. That's going to mean the end of Bezzy. They're going to respond. Another kill on the No Smite there, and Sinatra so charged up, so much damage being done again, and no hope for Spark in winning this fight. They are cruising through Route 66.
Yeah, Sinatra here already at 27% of his team's damage dealt, and it's been all San Francisco. 28 limbs to just 9 from the Spark.
Yeah.
So they've been rolling through this pretty convincingly, and outside of that first push, Hangzhou have hardly gotten anything at all.
Yeah, the Spark in a lot of trouble now. Super with another Earth Shatter locked and loaded. That payload is nearly there, too. Spark needs to make something happen.
I mean, they need to stop this.
I don't know. I don't know how you do. They're going to need to get some kills in a hurry here. They got the grab. They're going to need to turn this into something. They do get Moth. That's a good start. Now the Zen ultimates come out. They're going to push Spark back again. Moth gets caught, but here's the grab. Self-destruct. Any defense? Not for Godspeed. He's down. Bezzy in trouble as well. Gets knocked down with the Earth Shatter. He gets killed by Choyobin. Now Super gets the healing armor pack just in time as they push forward onto the remainders of Spark. Spark do have the respawn advantage right now, but IDK falls so quickly. I don't know about this. No Smite uses the Earth Shatter. No stuns for him. Rhea just trying to buy time on the point. Now it's a matter of draining the time bank because it looks like Shock are going to finish it in just a second. IDK gets the Zarya shield. That's only going to last so long. It does last long enough, though, for No Smite to come out. That's it. Shock finishes with 105 in the time bank. That is a great finish on Route 66 for these guys.
You know, if I've been impressed by one thing from the Shock today, it's their willingness to commit when they've already lost a player and keep these fights going.
Yeah.
They have a lot of confidence that, say, Sinatra died first, he's going to come onto Sombra and get back there for the end of the fight. Again, that was an engagement where they started at a disadvantage, and yet they still closed the map on that push.
Well, it's also their ability, too, to use those ultimate combos to get multiple kills. So if you lose somebody early like a Lucio, who can get back to the fight faster than nearly anybody, if you can return the favor with a couple ultimate kills, albeit you need a lot of confidence to do that, you can equalize, and Shock has been pretty decent at doing that so far.
Shock has also been good at trading one ultimate for 2. And what I mean by that is they're going to force the Graviton and self-destruct combo from the Spark.
Sure.
And when that comes in, they'll shoot out their own self-destruct, and they've been trading kills that way while investing fewer resources. So we haven't seen a lot of combos from the Shock, as many as from the Spark, because they've been offsetting their self-destruct with their Graviton Surge, but because they're able to at least go even and sometimes even win those engagements, it's been pretty effective.
Well, it may just mean the difference between winning the series right now for San Francisco or going to that map 5. Now it's Spark's turns to attack. They've got a mark set for them, 105 in the time bank for Shock. We'll see how fast they can do it. Desi on that Widowmaker. We'll see if he takes a shot or two before swapping. He may just stay on it too. Maybe we're going to see something a bit funky come out for Shock here. Or Spark. Shock plus Spark is Shark, by the way.
The most electric of animals, of course.
Or Spock if you go the other way too. Yeah.
All right, so are they going to change things? IDK on the... Okay, they're going to high ground teleport.
Ooh, I like it. The Symmetra coming out. Send everybody up there, then the swap over to Lucio. Just going to try to take that defensive position early.
I'm not sure that actually did anything, but it was cool.
I mean, it's kind of like, surprise, we're here. You could have just walked up there, too. I mean, it does get them up onto that high ground and lets them fight from the high ground advantage.
Yeah, but they're just poking. Like, there's not actually payload movement. It didn't give them a fantastic positional edge.
Now, Viol2t does kill Revenge, too, so in the end, the fight does seem to be going the way of the San Francisco Shock, and you know, maybe what Obi-Wan said about the high ground isn't true after all. Who knew? Worked for him. Doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody else.
No, definitely is not working for the Hangzhou Spark. Cute strat doesn't end up with any tangible benefit. Sinatra now going to be nice and charged up for this next engagement. He should be able to pick up that first Graviton Surge of the game. Actually, Godsby is like just farming Choi Hyobin's mech right now, so never mind.
Ooh, all right. Her shadow goes down, but they lose super. Whoa. That Viol2t not quite getting the Transcendence there in time to save his Reinhardt. Now everybody has to run. Well, that was a bit of a mistake there.
Godsby just ran up that train car onto the high ground and lasered Choi Hyobin's mech, which gave them the faster Graviton Surge. Super thought he was safe. How could he possibly have a Graviton Surge before Sinatra does? Well, there's the reason. He almost demech'd Choi Hyobin, so a bit of a positional error there from Shock, and they pay for it.
Sometimes those tanks end up being a big alt battery. Sinatra wanting to return the favor. A lot of damage from the high ground. Drops in with his own Graviton Surge. Self-destruct time. Nice boop. There goes Bezzy. And Spark down a support already. Shock trying to finish off this fight, but it looks like Spark already pulling back. Just going to burn through some of the shield there, and Sinatra trying to just recharge. Hello.
They're trying to, of course, Sinatra always waving in the game.
Very friendly.
What a friendly player he is. But
depends on what kind of wave that is. I don't know. I'm not convinced. Looks mean to me. Spark on the attack again. Ooh, they've got super really low. Has to retreat. Godsby up on the high ground. Can't quite use the Graviton there. They need to be able to reply to it or respond to it. Get some kills off of it.
You can see Shock is really afraid because they know Hangzhou's up at 6 ults basically right now.
Pretty much. They should be afraid.
Yeah, and this is where you want to defend because you can stop the payload while standing on the high ground. So it's the perfect place for Shock to force some ultimates out and buy some time.
There we go. Grab on the outside of the wall, pulling people in. Self-destruct thrown in over the top, trying to bounce people at the end, but the sound barrier there just in time. It
Very
does
nice.
Mean that Rhea will be taken out on the way out too. Sound barrier for Spark, not saving their diva, who is demech'd, trying to get that self-destruct kill. There's the grab. Sinatra going crazy. Look at the damage. They're going to throw him in there. IDK down as well. And that is not the mine shaft you want to be in if you are Shock.
Not at all, Doa, but really credit. Moth actually hit the sound barrier perfectly right there. And meanwhile, Choi Hyobin identified that, as you say, the diva was demech'd because of the self-destruct. Went and just killed Rhea. It was a really good play by Choi Hyobin and Moth.
And this series might end right here. Spark, they're down to their last 10, 12 seconds remaining. Just to take point A, they might get full held again. Moth on high, as you'd find Moths be oftentimes. And the boop, sending the Reinhardt away. Oh, and that opened up a bigger shatter. Choi Hyobin throws in the self-destruct as well. Brutal combo for Shock. That's how you get it done. Rhea nearly demech'd. He has to flee. And it is not looking good for Spark. They need a big fight turnaround, and you're not going to get it by losing your diva. Looks like it's all Shock right now. Viol2t charging into the Transcendence to let his team go forward onto the rest of Hangzhou. There goes no smite, no more Reinhardt, and no more chance, in this caster's opinion, for Hangzhou Spark to get that payload, they don't. And that's going to be a 3-1 victory for San Francisco Shock.
Well, that was a flashy finish to that. Moth with a couple huge plays, perfectly timed sound barrier. Next play, and he just is going to set up the self-destruct combo after the Earth Shatter.
Dude, I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, this meta, I said this earlier in the day, but one of my favorite things about it is seeing the plays the Lucios can make. Moth showing us that in spades, man. Getting that crucial bump onto the Reinhardt, popping up in the air, allowing that Earth Shatter to go through, set up the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And watching the Lucio players is one of the most important things you can do because they're often just riding walls up on the high ground, waiting for somebody to come through a choke point.
What's a perfect map
They'll
for it?
fall down and then just knock somebody out of the way to set up a combo or to push a tank into the enemy team to get a quick kill.
And we see it a lot, and that's the play that ends up winning the day for San Francisco Shock. A 3-1 victory over Hangzhou Spark. And now let's send it down to Danny, who has Super with him, to chat a bit about that match.
That is right, everybody. Give it up for San Francisco Shock. I am here with Super. Congratulations on the win. Now, with today's win, your path to playoffs seems very likely, but you do have a tough schedule up ahead. How important is it for San Francisco Shock and for you personally to make it into the stage playoffs?
So as a team, we feel like we improved greatly over the offseason. So we wanted to make it a goal of ours to make stage playoffs and make the overall playoffs. So hopefully we can make it work.
I'm sure that'll work. You guys could do it. I believe in you, right, guys? Do you guys believe in San Francisco Shock? And also today, we've seen some great Rhyme plays from you. If you could actually rank yourself in the Overwatch League as a Rhyme player, where would you put yourself as?
I watched Watchpoint this morning. Zoe wanted to call me super bad. I don't appreciate that very much. I think I'm definitely one of the top Rhymes in the league for sure.
Blizzard Arena, do you guys agree? Yeah? I agree too. Well, that's all I have. Back to you guys, casters.
All right, thank you, Danny. Yeah, I think you can't call this guy super
Hey,
bad.
I
He
said-
did super well in some of them.
I said to give him some McLovin when they called him super
I
bad.
think the fans
I
will
thought,
do just
I think
that.
he's good.
Well, here's our standings now. Shock jumps up to a tie in 8th place with Guangzhou Charge. Meanwhile, Spark down to 15th. The Mighty have fallen. After a great first 2 games, they have lost 3 straight. And so questions abound for the Hangzhou Spark. Thanks for watching tonight, guys. Don't miss the Watchpoint post-show coming up after this. Thank you, Disney Channel XD audience, for tuning in. See you guys on Sunday. We'll see the rest of you on Watchpoint.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another edition of the Watchpoint Post Show. We are live from the Blizzard Arena here in Los Angeles, and you know me by now, I hope. It's Puckett. I got the whole crew. We got Zoe, we've got Bren, we've got the great Monty Cristo, who's just casting. Now he's back on the desk. But Monty, this is your first post show. And on the post show, we do something every single time. This is your first post show with me, Monty.
I've never seen you
When I'm on to the post show, I always like to start with, what did you learn today? What did Monty Cristo learn by watching the Overwatch League?
I feel like I lost some brain cells actually watching that last match.
Ouch.
I learned that the Spark do not like taking objectives. That's what I learned. They will run around in circles. Like you can just run around forever, and they're just going to keep going in circles till the end of time.
Nobody wants that objective time card. What about you, Brian? What did you learn today?
I learned that damage dealers still exist in the game, so that's pretty cool. We saw some happy Widowmaker, some Sire player Widowmaker. That was fun for 2 minutes.
Not just tanks and not just healers.
tanks,
It was
not
nice to
just
see
healers.
some damage dealers. Well, so we all just learned in Super's post-game show that the players watch Watchpoint.
You know, I watched Watchpoint this morning. You know, Zoe wanted to call me super bad. I don't appreciate that very much. But you know, I think I'm definitely one of the top Ryans in the league for sure.
That's so not what I said. All right. Shout out to production, totally throwing me under the bus. I've never seen that stat card before. I called it out as being mean. You're super good to me. Wow, that was really bad. But I was not on me.
Brent, we all heard her saying super bad, right? It was
Zoe, I saw you in the stat room. You were typing in numbers. You were like, yo, I
made
can real
the
get
graphic
super
herself.
bad.
She's great with arts and crafts. Let's
Guys,
keep it
won't
going.
this be funny? Super bad. And we were like, Zoe, don't do it. It's super hard.
So the
old
conversation
American
went
movie,
like, Smurf is pretty good. And then production was like, okay, I'm going to write super bad now. That's exactly what happened. I had
You
nothing
know what I
to do
love
with
about this is usually they have to rein me in from saying things like that, but they just totally throw you under the...
I love it. It's what we're going to do all season long. You guys have a lot of it coming up. And speaking of coming up, a little bit later in this show, we'll be joined by one of the Overwatch League's most exciting new talent. We got Kib from the Guangzhou Charge. He'll be joining us. And don't forget, if you want to check out Kib's Q&A later, you're going to need the Overwatch League All Access Pass. You can get that right now on twitch.tv. Get it, because it's going to last all season long. But let's get into the games today. After struggling in Week 2, both the San Francisco Shock and the Hangzhou Charge are looking to the Spark, looking to get back on track. And in the first half, it was 1-1 after 2 games. Let's talk about this second half, though. What did we see from the Shock? Because they ran away with this series.
Felt like the Shock were just kind of warming up with this one. I think, I put out a little social media message on the old Twitterverse. I said that even if Shock ended up winning this series, I still think they're going to be disappointed because the early game from them was frankly atrocious. I think the first 2 maps.
They played well in Route 66, at least.
Yes, they did. Yeah, and that's what exactly the point I was trying to make was that they warmed up. It took them a while to really get going, but I just know that Krusty's going to be having a few words.
Theories. Why was Rascal on Brigitte for 3 maps?
I don't know. Where was Architect?
We have so many questions. I don't think any one of us has an actual answer. It looked a bit confusing. I wasn't quite sure what is actually going on for most of the game. However, some parts were definitely rather entertaining. I was happy to see Revenge in again. I do actually like that Spark is trying to give plenty of players some playtime.
Yeah. I think we're eventually, though, going to reach a point like London realized last year.
It's too much, spreading thin.
Yeah, these teams got a little bit too many players, and they need to sort of kind of condense it down to a consistent roster at some point. And I guess a lot of these expansion teams, some of the, Shock as well, I think can be considered in this regard. They're just still kind of figuring out what players they want to be running on a regular basis.
What did you like today, Monty, when you were watching the Shock here? Do you think that they played to their opponent's level? Did they show you anything new compared to their match against the NYXL?
I mean, I thought their attack on Hollywood was honestly like horrific. And
I agree.
I was really surprised that the Spark refused to take any kind of advantage on Hollywood. And, as we went to Anubis 2, I think Spark just wasted a bunch of time banks and huge attack advantages that they had. So I guess I learned that the Shock are capable of just like running around and confusing their opponents potentially, but I would put that more on the Spark. Like I said, Route 66 I think was a good map from the Shock, but everything else was like a really big disappointment.
Well, I have great news for you, Monty. Despite a big disappointment with the overall strategy, we saw some fantastic individual performances, including a performance from our player of the match. This is presented by Omen by HP, and today going back to him. The great Zarya.
Yeah.
Sinatra again. Questionable grabs that time, yes, but this man always has a high charge, and once he gets that big beam, he deals out some serious damage.
And they play around him, too. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Shock has been so good outside of this series. And I agree with Brendan. They did look like they were warming up, but I think Sinatra has been consistently great.
Yeah, I like that they included the clip as well where he missed the EMP on everyone in the play of the game hight. I mean, that's a nice
Happens to
touch.
be the
Sometimes you just whiff those, but Brian, looking at this average energy of 56%, 58,000 damage throughout the games. Do you want to see him back on Sombra or just stay on the Zarya?
I think, well, I mean, he didn't put a... the Sombra was more of like a stalling so he could get back to the point, but the Zarya, he is one of the better Zaryas in the league all around, to be honest. And I really do like the fact that, like you said, Monty, Shock play around him quite often, and he is a very highly mechanically skilled player. He's got a lot of potential. I still think he hasn't reached it, and he's going to be a fantastic
He's
player.
only going to get better from here. And already, your player of the match presented by Omen by HP. After a devastating loss to the Shanghai Dragons last week, the Boston Uprising looked to right the ship today in their match against the Seoul Dynasty. In all honesty, I did not think it was going to happen against Fissure and the boys. Bren, you definitely did not pick it right on the pre-show today. Let's talk about this Boston squad because they came out swinging.
I was dead impressed with Boston, I think. Yeah, I honestly, when I was predicting Boston against Seoul, I wasn't expecting them to be this good. It was based off the impression that I seem to have this kind of hidden intuition that Seoul are just going to implode any day now, with Fissure and Jexa just kind of like wrangling control for who can be the main caller. I'm basing that off no inside information, just basically.
You have not heard any of their
this
comments.
is just us.
Yeah, essentially, just me guessing. But Boston really impressed me. I think them having the addition of Color Hex and now Fusions as well, this is the roster that they've been practicing with. And they've really shined here. Their ultimate combos were crisp, they were clean. Boston looking like a very good squad. And I've got to really give props as well to the management of Boston in managing to build another roster despite losing a lot of their players that they had in their first year.
I have to say what impressed me the most from Boston was not just the way that they managed to combine the ultimates, it was also just the general target calling they managed to do. Jaehong has been picked up almost first thing in almost every engagement throughout the entirety of the early stages of the game. It was a bit different throughout the last two maps, I do believe. However, I think their target calling in that regard was incredibly cleverly done.
I think what really impressed me about Boston was that they were winning maps, even though they were getting fewer eliminations from Seoul. Yeah. And the way they were doing it was with some crazy mind games. And they came in prepared for Seoul's EMPs with the Sombra. Yep. They were hiding their supports around corners. They were doing weird attacks that were not really... They were like faking Winston goats while running Reinhardt goats, and it was just, there were all these layers of mind games. It was actually like a super cool match from Boston Analytics.
I like that you mentioned Aim God actually as like a player and playing around the Sombra in particular. I was speaking to Wolf as this match was going on. Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? Aim God has really shot up my rankings in
in the running for best Zen in the league right now.
He was like 1 meter away from the edge of that EMP. That is about as good positioning as you get. He was around the corner too. I mean, fantastic play from Aim God.
Incredible stuff from the Boston Uprising. Great way to bounce back as soon as you get Fusions back in the lineup, and a strong showing from the whole team overall. But coming up, a perfect debut and some justice for the Fusion. We got plenty more. This is the Watchpoint Post Show.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered.
We're back. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, and we saw some awesome action today. Some great performances here in the Overwatch League, especially from the rookies. When it came down for the Florida matchup today, we're excited to see what was going to come from the Charge, but I don't think anyone expected such strong highlights coming out of some of the new faces, including a guy named Apply, who we had on the post show just a week ago, already in the starting lineup here, getting his face taken by Happy and friends.
Yeah, I will say this. I've been honestly impressed at the rates that a lot of these teams are improving. You know, as much as we did kind of discredit Hangzhou Spark in that last series. They've been improving, and Florida is another name I want to add to that list where they are seeing improvements when it comes from game to game. So I'm excited now that we've got sort of this higher level of competition, at least compared to last year. These teams are starting to even up, and the playing field, the bar is being raised, if you like.
And there's one of the guys who is those rookies. Zoe, we highlighted McGravy during the halftime. What was he showing you from this Florida Mayhem squad? Do you want to see him in the lineup more often?
I actually really do. I'd love to see if he can continue in that trajectory. I mean, if you're showing up for the first time ever playing on this stage, you would assume that the nerves would maybe get the better of you, but that was not the case with McGravy. He managed to eat 2 grass right straight out of the gate. Two really impactful plays he's been showing us on the stage, and actually went backstage afterwards and yelled about that.
He's 23-0. Not a bad entry into the Overwatch League. We saw the Charge, though, in the second half here on Horizon. Some big plays out of Hotba back on the Diva. You saw Rio popping off on multiple main tanks as expected from the Charge once again. Looking at this matchup, though, how close was it in your eyes, Brent?
It was an interesting one. Definitely close, obviously, because it went to the map 5 again, as we saw a little bit later on. But what's really kind of got shown
I think
out
this
for me
is what
again,
we need to talk about.
which. You know, he pulls us out on King's Row. It's the first time we've seen it on Rialto, at least. I think it's the first time May has ever been played on Rialto in the history of the Overwatch League as well. It seemed to work, despite the fact that at the time we were looking at each other.
I think it's horrible on Rialto.
I agree with you, Monty. I'm glad that we're in agreement over once, you know? It was a strange strategy. It's quite an open map, but it ended up working to their advantage because I think Guangzhou were taking a little bit off guard.
Yeah, it worked, but it didn't work. And
it worked, but it didn't work. But if it worked, is it really a bad strat, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think one of the things we learned, though, is that Ilios is trouble here for the Mayhem. The Charge won that one in back-to-back rounds in a Game 5 to seal the deal. And that victory puts the Charge now at 2-2, well within the fight for one of our 8-stage playoff spots in just a few weeks. Now, one team that we don't expect to see in our stage playoffs is going to be the Washington Justice, who entered today's match desperate to get their first victory here in the Overwatch League. But sadly, today would not be the day.
But I have to say, they have to be happy with the way they performed. I think they actually showcased some pretty good Overwatch, at least for the majority of this series, the first map. No, I don't think they were terribly bad in the second map either. I think in the first map specifically, they did a really good job to just sticking to their guns. As you said in the halftime, Fusion tried to get fancy. They tried to branch out, playing some different comps, and Justice just went back to their basics.
Like that strategy by Philly, if you're wondering why they were in the spawn there, they were pre-firing, kind of anticipating if Justice were going to be running a Pharah Mercy composition. So they were kind of trying to plan for it, and because they were still in the spawn, they could swap once they found out what Justice were actually running. So those kind of mind games are always interesting to me. Unfortunately, it was also partly the reason why Fusion lost that map.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, you gotta say,
they gave
was it
up
really
40% before the end of the first team fight. It wasn't the best way to start a game. Fusion did come back, though, in that game, too. On Hollywood, you saw Carpe doing some damage, EQO all over that kill feed, and then Boombox back in the lineup really seemed to be a big difference maker for the Fusion once again.
I don't know about that.
No?
In fact, I think that it was more troubling for Philly that they played this badly, even with Boombox back in the lineup, because we saw the same problems that they've had with communicating with Sato. Something is fundamentally wrong about Sato's communication and positioning with the rest of this team, and having Boombox in did not solve it.
Is it Fraggy time?
Look, I said it was Fraggy time in the pre-show. It is time to free Fraggy 100%.
Where is he, do you think?
I don't know.
He's definitely grooming his beard at the moment.
I think that he is standing there stoically, a single finished tear rolling.
He's
down
waiting
his
for the
face.
bat signal, I'm telling you. He's ready to come in at any moment.
Philadelphia Fusion, in the end, is able to close out on Route 66, and will take this one 3-1. Are you worried for Philly? Hot start 2-0. They struggled last week 0-2.
I've been down on Philly this whole time.
It's
I've
true,
been
you
the one
have.
saying that Philly is not as good as people think they are, and they've been really struggling to play anything outside of a Winston 3-3 composition, which is true. And until they fix the fundamental flaws that they have with Sato, it's going to keep going this way.
We'll definitely keep our eyes on the Fusion, but coming up, we have Kib from The Charge. He tells us about their big win today. Also, we got some special things, including our Employee of the Month skit featuring Monty's face. You don't want to miss it. It's on Watchpoint, the post show.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Honey, we're home. You know what time it is. It's time for the Watchpoint Post Show, and we've got a very special guest right now. You know him from Contenders Europe. You watched him take down the USA in the World Cup. Yeah, that was sad. And now he's leading the charge.
I always love that. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's Kib. Kib, welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
You got a big win today. First off, let's talk about that. How do you feel coming off the victory over the Mayhem?
I feel like the win today was a little bit sloppy from us, like our side. We came in, I think, very prepared, but we just didn't execute our plans very well, and I think they caught us off guard a lot on certain maps.
In the end, you did walk away with the victory, a much closer victory than you expected, but let's talk about the steps leading up to this point. I hear you went over to China, you practiced with the team before the Overwatch League kicked off. What was that experience like for you as a guy who's coming from the UK, now practicing with teammates in China? Did you ever see that coming?
No, honestly, I was pretty confident getting into the World Cup, especially after World Cup performance, since we did so well. But I didn't expect to get on a Chinese team of all the teams. Going to the boot camp, I think, was a little bit scary because I'd never been to China and it was very, very far away from home. But once getting there and meeting the team and the players and the staff, coaches, everything, it was really, really easy to just fit in and have a good time.
Excellent.
So you did have a really good showing at the World Cup, and talking to your managers, they said that's why you were given a chance to try out for the team. So what was the trial process for you, and how did the World Cup performance really impact you?
Well, the World Cup performance, I think, a big part of it was Hayes and Boombox coming from the finals last year. I think Hayes is one of the best coaches in the league right now, and I never had a coach at that level. So I think him alone improved my level of play to the point where I could come into the league. And just such a strong showing for the World Cup. He was very confident on all of us to be able to beat USA. I'm sorry, it still stings for some people.
Yeah, I mean, listen, mate, I was just trying to get my green card, so you can't hold it against me.
I thought it was funny.
It was quite funny. I'm not gonna lie, it was funny. So I have a question now. We're both from the UK. Apart from the fact that I've tried to get myself removed from my own country by predicting against you in the World
Still
Cup.
don't forget that.
Is there anything you're missing from the UK? For me personally, it's peri chicken. Peri chicken. That's the biggest thing for me. But what about you?
Not
Nothing
much.
right now?
No,
You
not
haven't-
really.
how long have you been here in LA for?
Like 2 months, about.
Yeah,
now?
so it hasn't kicked in yet.
Yeah. No need for
It will in a
pussy
minute.
pigs quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Yeah, we'll
No,
see.
quite it. Yeah, it happens in about 2 weeks. That's my
Yeah.
prediction.
When it
That's roughly 2 weeks. Since we just talked about your experience in China, your team consists of a lot of different nationalities, a lot of different languages. I know that your coaches actually publicly claimed that there is no such thing as a language barrier. Did that feel that way to you when you started playing with that team?
In China, yes, but that was because like we didn't know how to like structure the comms around our team. But as the bootcamp went on and we played the show match against Seoul, I think they really found a way to like thin it out, I guess is the word, to make sure we can always be like on the same page and work together as a team. And I think you can see that in some of our matches, especially the ones against Titans. We move and play together very well when we want to, but sometimes we do like mess up. There is some communication errors, but like, I mean, it's kind of rare around about now. Like our team's in a very good spot, I think. We're just a little rough on the edges. But I think as time goes on, you'll see more and more us just be stronger together and move together as a team.
Clearing it up already in stage 1, that's got to be impressive. I mean, we're only in week 3 here. Well, Kib, it's time for rapid fire. You know how this works. Did you watch the Apply interview?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you something. As soon as it comes to your brain, you have to answer. No thinking about it twice. You ready? Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Who's your best hero?
Huh?
Who's your best hero?
Frick.
What was that?
I'm sorry.
What? Who's your favorite teammate?
Happy.
Okay.
Best Chinese team. Best Chinese team.
Us.
Good answer. Team you want to face the most in the Overwatch League?
Houston Outlaws.
What's a Kib? Where's that nickname coming from?
I hit my keyboard once and got it.
Nice.
Who's the most overrated team in the league?
Maybe New York.
New York? Oh, that'd be spice. Okay.
Monty or Monty?
Monty.
Good choice.
Monty or Dilla?
Monty.
And last but not least, what is going on in this photo? It's coming. I'm loading it up on my cell phone right now.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
But really, let's talk about that.
What is this outfit? Because I feel like you went shopping in Brent's closet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. You might have stolen that from me. I'm not too sure.
I was trying some jutsus. You know, I was trying on an outfit. It was just a random day. We were in between scrims.
Yeah.
And I happened to find a robe in my closet.
Well,
Just put it on.
That was one of the highlights of my day, was seeing that photo. I don't know how it took me this long to catch that on the internet, but thank you, Kib, for joining us. You're not done yet. I'm going to make you sit through the top 5 moments of the day. Starting at number 5, it's you playing against McGravy here on Numbani. Tell me about this guy. What is it like going up against his diva?
I think this is like the first time we played against, or I played against him. But coming today,